Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to our speakers for the third webinar in the four-part series of Decoding Menopause by the Health and Wellness vertical of CII-IWN. After two interesting and valuable discussions with medical experts in their field, we wanted to understand alternative approaches for dealing with this biological transformation in every woman's life. Today on our panel, we have Salma Lakrawala, who is a skilled and certified yoga instructor with a successful practice since a decade. She conducts therapeutic sessions and wellness workshops for all health issues and general well-being. Our next speaker is Ms. Tarika Ahuja, who is a macrobiotic and an Ayurvedic nutritionist with a focus on holistic and dynamic wellness. In addition, she is a best-selling author and has been invited by many organizations to hold workshops and sessions on nutrition. Thanks for taking out time with us and guide us on how to deal with one of the biggest biological changes in a woman's life. Our moderator for this session is Mrs. Nandini Chaudhary, Chairperson CII-IWN Delhi Chapter. I request you all to kindly keep your cameras off and please be on mute through the session. To start the session, I invite Nandini to take over. Over to you, Nandini. Thanks.
Thank you, Aparna. A very good evening to all of you and a very warm welcome to both our panelists today. We are delighted. Tarika is also a member now, and we are delighted to have her on board. And a very warm welcome to Salma as well. So as Aparna just mentioned, this is the third part of a four-part series. We started with a bang, and we've had really an overwhelming response to the whole series. And today we're going to discuss that how with nutrition and with yoga, we can transition into menopause easily. To start, I would like to put a question to Salma. What makes yoga for menopause unique?
Hari Om. So that is a very
yes.
interesting question to begin with. So let me deal with this question in two ways. First of all, I think menopausal yoga is unique, especially because it includes the therapeutic part and the holistic approach. So it's not only looking at the physical aspect. It's not only talking about using your body, using just to stretch, to strengthen, but it's also using other relaxation techniques like Shavasana, Yoga Nidra. It's looking at techniques like breath work, that's pranayam, to relax the mind. So basically the approach for a menopausal yoga is holistic. And second of all, this transition phase, this is a milestone for every woman. It may be very early for some, it may be delayed for some, but it is a milestone. So every woman's experience in this transition is unique. So therefore, I think correctly that the practice also has to be unique. So that's why I feel menopausal yoga is very unique, holistic, and therapeutic. That's what sets it apart.
Tarika, while Salma talks about the exercise or the yoga part of it, we also want to know when you're perimenopausal, do you think it is time to revise your diet plan?
Yes, I do think it's a time to revise our diet plan. Our body is going through a major shift. The function of our ovaries is declining. And so the estrogen produced by the body is also, changing. And there is a balance in our body constantly between opposites, be it between hot and cold, dampness and dryness. Similarly, between estrogen and testosterone, also there is a constant balance that we are used to throughout our life. And suddenly at the time of menopause, when one hormone is going to be produced lesser, we need to look into how to balance our food so that we don't eat foods that actually increase the opposite, hormone more in our body and create that. I think to take this ahead, I'd like to start with a PPT presentation with little pointers about the estrogen, testosterone, and dietary changes. So I'll just share my screen.
Thank you.
Great to see that. So,
Yes.
sorry, I'm just. So there is, as I mentioned, there is a decline in the working of the ovaries. And so there is a reduction in the production of estrogen and progesterone. And estrogen, you could say, in a way, is the more relaxing feminine hormone, and testosterone is the more masculine hormone. So what happens is when the estrogen production has reduced, women, start feeling that imbalance in terms of, the hot flashes and more heat in the body. And that's what a masculine, the man, has a lot more of naturally. Naturally a man's body has more heat, also like thicker, hair on the chin, and a certain kind of moodiness, because they can't understand, they're no longer receiving a certain flowing energy, and the energy is a little harsh. So even in terms of the diet, we need to shift to foods that are softer and more nourishing, yet gently warming and strengthening. We as women, every woman is going to experience the hot flashes, night sweats, mood changes, as discussed. Also fatigue. It's such a sudden change that it's basically, in traditional Chinese medicine, this time is called as a second spring, and they say that this is the time that the prana of the body, what we call prana in yoga, the chi or the ki, as we call it in China and Japan, is on a decline also. And so is our blood chemistry, and so is our Jing. Jing is the same as what you refer to in Ayurveda as ojas, which is basically the essential vitality of any human being at the time that they were born. And that is what we keep nourishing to bring about health. And that also begins to go on a slight decline. And so, the person could experience fatigue, hair loss, because the Jing is also connected to the production, to the kidney function, which is directly related to our skin, hair, bones, and nervous system. So a lot of functions in our body take a big shift. And so the diet, should definitely shift as well. I can go into the next.
So, yeah. So Tarika, just to add a question there, what is the ideal diet during this transition then?
Right. So I'll go into the next one.
Yeah.
What we are looking at over here is, at this time, what we need is nourishing and cooling foods to support the internal environment to be stronger and more vital. So what we need is foods that directly directly look like our reproductive organs. If you see asparagus, it basically looks like the fallopian tube. And if you see even the broccoli, that also looks like the end of the fallopian tube. And it also looks like parts of the lungs for that matter, but also the reproductive organs. So it's very important at this point to have foods that are nourishing, like yams, broccoli, salads, mung beans, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, carrots, anything that is gently sweet nourishes our body more. In Ayurveda, as well as in macrobiotics, they talk about foods that are very acidic. Now, acidic, even by the sound of it, is basically sour foods, right? So when we take an excessive amount of sour foods in the body, when we take it creates an acidic environment. So we don't want to have an excessive amount of sour, while a little amount of sour actually nourishes our liver at this time. So the key to a lot of the dietary changes is transitioning to healthier foods and having whatever is suggested to us in moderation, regularly, whatever is mentioned over here, included into the diet anywhere from 3 to 6 times a week. And that itself has a cumulative impact over a period of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. It begins to shift the body. Not to take any of the advice, for example, if somebody feels yams are good and start having sweet potato every day, they also like a little bit fatty, and they could shift the body in a different way. So just including all the foods that are mentioned over here, for example, a little bit more. Yeah. And also having nuts, but not the very heating nuts, like maybe lotus seeds, pumpkin seeds, which are high in the prana value and high in zinc and magnesium, which help the softer hormones flow in the body as well. Another very important part of the diet that I feel is not what we eat, it's also what we don't eat. Because a diet is not just what we consume. A diet is partially what we consume, but it's also a lot to do with what we don't consume. And that plays a very major role for us. So the next slide would be towards foods that really affect the woman's body, like dry baked foods. In India, we're so used to picking up namkeens and crackers and dried stuff as afternoon snacks, actually all over the world, but a lot more in India, And these very high salted, dried up snacks actually really affect a woman who's going through menopause or perimenopause for that matter. Then eggs and chicken, concentrated sweetness, cold foods, commercial dairy, all of these shock the body. And at this time, we don't need to shock the body, but we need to support the body with nourishing, cooling, gently warming and strengthening foods. So that's the general outlook of what we should be doing.
That's great. Since we now know what Tarika is saying, what our diet should look like. Salma, what do you think are the specific yoga poses which should help us through menopause?
Okay, so first, before I mention the specific poses, I'd like to pay a little attention on the mindset with which you do your practice. Because at the end of the day, as I said, it's holistic, it's therapeutic. So it's very important what the role of your mind is when you're doing a practice. So firstly, when you have set on an intention, when you've set that you want to start with your yoga practice considering menopause, first understand the intention, the aim of your practice, which should start with something known as Sthiram, Sukham, Asanam. Just three basic words with so much of depth. Sthiram in yoga means steady, stability. It's that sense of stability, the groundness you must have when you start a practice, throughout the practice. Sukham, the sense of joy, enjoyment, comfort that you get with your practice. That is an ideal posture. So you could just pick up maybe one posture, stay in that posture, find your grounding, feel relaxed in the posture. That is how it should be. In yoga, in menopausal yoga especially, I would highly recommend that every practice should begin with something known as stretches. Pick stretches which you find are convenient to your body type. You can begin with as simple as these stretches. First one are the runner's lunge. They're also known as Ashwa Sanchalan. If you see on your screen, you'll find two poses. Ashwa Sanchalan are both runner's lunge with a little variation. This posture, if you see the hands on your hips, knees on top of your ankles, this is extremely important to get the posture correct so that you don't injure yourself whilst you're doing your practice. Therefore, every yoga practice must be accompanied, must be watched over by a certified teacher. This posture, the lunges are very, very good to build strength in your legs, very good for your calf muscles. They are very good to strengthen the bone density also. If you have any kind of knee condition, comfortably place your knee on the mat, create a bolster, create a cushioning for the comfort of your knees. Do not push yourself too much in a posture, especially under aim, Sthiram Sukham Asanam. So lunges are extremely beneficial for your PSOS muscles, the muscles around the hips. They strengthen the muscles of your pelvic region. So very beneficial for your practice. Move on to inversions. Now, please remember, we are in a transition state. We are in a state where we want to achieve the benefits of the postures without putting any heavy impact, without creating heat in the body. Therefore, these inversions are cooling inversions. So we start with a cooling inversion known as the wide-legged forward bend, also known as Prasirita Padottasana. Don't bother with the names, just understand the posture. This is a forward bend, a beautiful forward bend, wherein the back of your legs are getting extended. So as we grow older, as much as we don't like it, but our muscles begin to shrink, they begin to tighten. Doing these practices, the hamstring muscles, the calf muscles, they start stretching out. When your head, remember this is very important, when the head is below the heart, the receptors get activated. These are the receptors which help to balance your blood pressure, which help to balance your heart rate. The nervous system, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic nervous system, this every part, that's the nervous system and the physical aspect, is achieved with these cooler inversions. If you're not comfortable in this wide-legged forward bend, go for downward facing dog. Again, downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. If your heels, if you see every posture, even if you see videos, you feel your heels go down, but my heels don't go down. That's okay. Everyone's flexibility is different, but the whole point is the comfort, the stretch. If you observe your back, your hips, your hamstrings, the back of your legs, every part of your body is getting this beautiful stretch. And if you believe it or not, but your calf muscles are linked to the strength of your heart. So over here, your calf muscles get a beautiful stretch, which is also maintaining your heart rate, which is watching over to bring your blood pressure at a normal level. The best part is if your blood pressure is high, with these postures, they come down to a relatively normal level. If it's low, they pick the pressure up to again bring on to a normal level. Then moving on from cooling inversions, we move to something known as compressions. Compressions are those postures which will compress your pelvic region, compress your abdomen region. So first posture, child's pose or Shashankasana, Balasana, very, very relaxing posture. Again, it's working at the mental level, it's working at the physical level. If you observe the first posture, the forehead is coming down, your hands are relaxed. The part to pay attention here is the compression that is created when your abdomen is resting on your thighs. Two ways to do this. If you have a knee condition, you can keep your knees apart and then rest your abdomen. So there's sufficient room between the abdomen and the floor. Again, forehead doesn't reach the floor. Don't worry, that's fine. You either keep a bolster or make a tower with your hands to rest your forehead. And remember about the stretch at the back. So this posture, Shashankasana, gives a beautiful stretch at the back, the lower back coming to your hips. The important part, once again, in menopause is we need to keep our pelvic region strong. We need to keep it healthier. We need the organs of the pelvic region to function to the best, to the maximum of its capacity. So this compression with deep breathing will improve the oxygen levels in your pelvic region. So an excellent posture for menopausal yoga. Either extend your hands out or keep them aside. But again, I repeat, if you have a knee condition, Pavan Muktasana, you can go back. Pavan Muktasana, same benefit of the posture, is just you're doing it in the other way. If you have a knee condition, for any reason you cannot be in Balasana or Shashankasana, this is your best bet. I'll again just bring one area of interest. If your knees hurt, don't hold on to the knees, hold it below the knees. Relax the chest, relax the chin, relax every part of the body. The utmost importance in menopausal yoga is your breath, is your comfort. From Pavan Muktasana, from compression, move on to chest opening postures. Also, just before I proceed, you don't have to follow the order. It's any order you do it, but try to cover these headings. So the next part is chest opening postures. Why chest opening postures? The major of menopause is stress. Stress due to anxiety, stress due to lack of sleep, stress due to you are putting on some weight. There are umpteen number of reasons that give rise to stress. When you have stress, it gets accumulated in the shoulders, gets accumulated the back. You'll feel that your back is slouching. The breathing starts becoming shallow. That's one of the factors which you have to remember is your breathing becomes shallow because of slouching back. We want to improve the lung capacity. We want to expand the chest. So we want to include postures which are not very difficult, which are easy to achieve, and an easy backward bend. So you don't feel they are difficult, I can't do it. No, very simple. So the first posture let's pick is Bhujangasana. This is Saral Bhujangasana. It's a beautiful backward bend, simple backward bend. Do it a couple of times. Do it with breathing. Don't just go back and forth abruptly. Breathe in, come up, breathe out, go down. You'll observe that with regular practice, your shoulders will start expanding. If you engage in deep breathing in this posture, when you're lying down on your abdomen, you've come up and you're breathing deeply. There's a gentle massage in the abdominal region. This massage causes a positive impact on your organs, improving digestion, improving, relieving any kind of acidity, and definitely very good for your back. If you see the back, it's a beautiful arch. You get that amazing supine, supple back, your spine, the muscles controlling the back, they start to straighten out. Bhujangasana, Sphinx pose. Again, an excellent backward bend, going a little higher. Your entire body is supported. You contract your glutes here, you look straight, you're actually looking tall. So the double chin, you actually get rid of your double chin with these backward bends. Again, try and breathe deeply. Breath is very, very important, remember, for an overall holistic practice. From Bhujang, from Sphinx, this one, my favorite all time. Even I see myself at times, I don't want to do my practice, but I'll get onto the mat and 5 minutes dedicatedly do Marjorie. This is a cat and cow variation. If you see the movement, this movement where you round your back, you're working on the muscles of your upper back, you're working on the muscles of your cervical, your neck, you're getting an amazing stretch on your arms. It's working also as an arm strengthener. This is activating your sympathetic nervous system. When you move with an arch of your back, the second posture, again, your heart expands, your chest opens up, improves your lung capacity because it's expanding your chest. You begin to breathe to the maximum lung capacity. So your lung capacity, if they say if you open up, would be as big as a tennis court, but you're just using not even 1/4 part of your lung capacity. You're getting stuck with shallow breathing. With these movements of cat and cow, you're at the mental level, you're activating your sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system. You're working on your spine. You're working on your abdomen, the abdominal fat. You're working on your hips. So it's basically an overall package in one posture. From these chest opening, move on to twist. My classes, when we have any kind of practice, it is incomplete without the twist. Twistings are one of the best practices for an overall well-being. So twisting helps you with your hormonal balance, twisting helps you with your digestion, twisting helps you with the strength of your spine, and simple twisting. You don't have to do any complicated postures where you're looking, you don't know where your hand is going. Don't do all of that. Two variations, one is supine, one is seated. The supine twist is called Supta Vakrasana, where you're just simply lying on your back, you're lifting your leg up, taking it to the other side, giving a good twist, massaging again, massaging the pelvic region, massaging the lower back. When you move your neck to the other side, it's also working on your neck muscles, working on toning your face, toning the chin, toning the muscles around the lymphatic area, and the twist is very good for lymphatic drainage also. Similarly, Ardha Matsyendra Asana, the seated twist. In this posture also, you're sitting tall. With that twist, you're working on the area of your heart, you're opening your chest region, but most importantly, twisting improves your happy hormones. They release your happy hormones. They automatically make you feel great after a practice. From twisting, from compressions, let's move to very important a part, which is weight bearing and balancing. In menopause, as we all know, estrogen levels are depleting, due to which the bone density is reducing, due to which you become more prone to falls. Falls will not happen because of bones being weak. Falls will happen because of lack of balance. You will injure your bone because of the density becoming low. So in this area, the postures will come very basic. Warrior 2, even the lunge which you saw will come in this variation. Veerbhadrasana 2, this is an amazing posture. If you see this posture done daily, do it on either side 3 to 5 times. It will strengthen your leg muscles. Get the alignment correct. Stack the shoulders above your hips. Stack the knees above your ankles. It'll give you a good grounding practice. It makes you stand tall. And our sages rightly named these postures Veerbhadrasana. You're doing a warrior pose. Expand your chest. Let your lungs expand. Breathe fully. Stand tall. Look straight. and breathe in this posture. For me, I think what makes a perfect yoga practice is all about breathing. So breathe in completely till the pelvic region. What happens is during menopause, because of all the stress building up, you're breathing very shallow, due to which the oxygen levels are not going up to your PSOS muscles, they are not going up to your hips. In these postures, physically, you've landed in a posture, and when you breathe, you take your breath completely down and you pull it up. The muscles begin to ease out. The tension in your groin region, the tension in your pelvic region, they start to ease out. Then secondly, this is one of the best practices. My guru personally says that this practice, Ek Padasana or Vrashtasana, many names to this posture, every day you do it diligently, you will never fall sick. It helps you with combating diseases. It helps you to stay strong mentally and physically. Again, when this posture, don't even worry if you cannot join your palms. Take any support of the walls, take support of any things around you, but try and stand on your feet, on one foot rather, pardon me, daily. Start with 1 minute. Keep your dedication on that posture. Fix your gaze on a static point. This will not only help you physically, of course, it will strengthen your legs, it will strengthen your entire posture. You will stand tall. You'll automatically feel one day you're just gaining height because it starts getting your posture erect. It gets a kind of a confidence in you when you start practicing this posture. And of course, the leg muscles stretch and it really helps overall. And finally, a practice is incomplete without Shavasana. Please do not skip Shavasana. If you're running late, do not do a practice. Keep it completely, but please fix Shavasana into your practice. Shavasana is one posture that after your practice, if you observe this posture, you're just lying down. It's called a corpse pose from the part where you're not moving. Your voluntary, your involuntary muscles are static right now. When they're in a state of static, your breath starts slowing down. Your mind starts calming down. You're actually beginning to feel the state of relaxation because all your muscles are now in a state of static. There's nothing you have to do. You just have to lie still. So always please complete your practice with Shavasana. So these are the list of postures you can do. The order is not essential. Do it in any order, but do it. I would say do it with a teacher, do it somebody watching you, somebody guiding you in and out through the posture, and of course, pay attention to your breath. Okay.
So Salma, just to ask, since you've shown us these asanas and you know, it's great to know the different asanas which you've just told us. But just to know, can these help us regulate our hormonal imbalance and delay our menopause?
Nandini, if you don't mind, can I address this question in two parts?
Yes, sure.
Second part. So the second part, you asked me whether it will delay menopause, correct?
Correct.
So we need to understand that menopause basically is, what happens is menopause is our estrogen is depleting. It is a very natural process. In yoga, directly, we cannot slow the process. We cannot replace estrogen. But what yoga can definitely help is to cope up with the symptoms that come with depletion of estrogen. Definitely it can. The first part, yes, yoga is the go-to, and not because I'm a teacher. Of course, I will give a lot of emphasis for yoga, but a regular yoga practice can definitely balance your hormones. For instance, the postures which I just showed you, inversions. When you do inversions, they help you with your cortisols. When you do twisting, it helps with your happy hormones. When you do regular practice, you bring down your stress hormones. You're in a state of equanimity. So definitely when you treat yourself to a good yoga practice, you will definitely balance your hormones. I would say, as rightly said by the sages, that treat yoga as a precaution, not as a cure. So even if before menopause, when you put this habit of practicing yoga daily, you will always find yourself in a state of equanimity. That means your hormones are balanced. You're not just, going angry. You're not getting irritated. Basically, you're not getting irritated. You're not stressed all the time. Your mind is calm. Your intellect is working sharp. So you're there. So if that answers your question, it definitely helps to balance the hormones for sure.
Thank you, Salma. Tarika, you spoke about estrogen levels going down earlier. You told us what foods are good and not good, but can you tell us which food items are rich in phytoestrogen and do they really help?
Yes, of course. Actually, most of the list that I gave you, basically plant-based natural food, which is coming from the farm to our table, is rich in phytoestrogens. All grains, all vegetables, lentils, the green ones even more so, are rich in phytoestrogens. Besides that, there are specific foods like flax seeds, like tempeh, which is beginning to get very popular in Indonesian traditional food, which is beginning to become very popular in India now as well. Tofu, as well as soybeans in moderation. All of these in moderation, provided you work with maybe an Ayurvedic or macrobiotic specialist. So in case you have thyroid, you're not offsetting the thyroid, as well. But all of these foods with leafy greens, artichokes, and just a lot of, especially the winter greens that we have, and eating seasonal foods, all of it is rich in phytoestrogens. Here I'd like to touch upon, again, a lot of my answers are going to be addressing not just what you should be doing, but a little bit of what you shouldn't be doing, So there's something called as xenoestrogens. Now, xeno basically means foreign. And in a way, the xenoestrogens are, you could say, these are fake estrogens, which basically, they just act like estrogens, but they're basically chemicals in the body, and they mimic the original estrogens, but in a more chaotic way, in a more stimulated way. And so xenoestrogens is what we need to be very careful, throughout our life, but even more particularly at this time when there is a decline in the production of estrogens, because we don't have the healthy estrogens in the body. And then if we take in the xenoestrogens, which come from poor quality makeup that women wear, poor quality, shampoos and body products that women may use, from household products, cleaning products, the chemicals in them. Plastic has BPAs, which are extremely, they create very high xenoestrogens in the body. So, heating food in plastic or keeping food in plastic for long in the hot sun. A lot of these different things, even something as simple as when we go to the shop, the quality of receipt paper that we get these days, even that is rich in there's a study done, and that's rich in BPAs, and that's so surprising, like paper in so many chemicals. But we need to be careful of what we touch around and what's smelling. Reconnect to our our natural instinct towards what's not smelling good and stay away. And then all of these colonies, and condos these days have these pesticide, pest control, fumigations and stuff, which are really bad for the body. We don't even realize it. We feel like we're just doing it to keep some flies away for dengue, but then you're creating like a million other hormonal issues, which, because they're not as apparent and not everybody knows of them, they just let it go. So eating a diet rich in vegetables and plant-based foods is automatically, without fail, it's just rich in phytoestrogens. And then being very wary of artificial, unnatural, chemical-laden, be it foods, even canned foods, or just products that we use in our lifestyle, which create more xenoestrogens in our body as well.
Thank you, Tarika. Salma, just a quick question. You spoke about the asanas we should do. You showed us, and that was great. But just to know, what are the precautions, or are there any modifications that should be taken while practicing these yoga asanas when you are already going through menopause or are transiting through menopause?
Excellent question, Nandini. So what I would suggest is, whether menopause or no menopause, always do a practice which is well suited for your body type. So you know what happens is when we go through a certain stage, or 1st of January, you'll see everybody setting resolutions. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to do this. No, don't do that. Respect your body. And especially menopause, I say, is a beautiful phase. It's a milestone in every woman's life. In fact, regular practice, you'll also observe, reaches to a state where you become more spiritual. When you do your menopause practice, first pick up a practice which is best suited for you. So take your time, try every variation. Remember that you need to gain strength and you do not want to increase the heat in your body. That's the bottom line when you want to start to practice. Stay hydrated throughout the practice, because dehydration will lead to already the symptoms of night sweats, which you're already, experiencing, of hot flashes. So at any time, practice, no practice, keep yourself hydrated. Third of all, when you're doing a practice, listen, be aware of your body. Your body speaks to you. And if you would have asked me or told me this 10 years back, your body talks to you, it was like, no, nonsense, rubbish, you can't. No, but I promise you, when you do your yoga practice, you get your signs, you know when to stop. So as an instructor, I look at you, I know what you're doing, I know what is correct, what is incorrect, but at the end of the day, it's my student who can feel, nah, I'm going to back off, or no, I can go further. So please listen to your body. Any type of practice that you choose, listen to your body. You will know when to stop. Especially pay attention to any kind of stiffness in the body, any kind of joint pains. Like, always modify your postures. Like when we started Ashwasanchalan, knees off the ground, but you feel, no, my knee hurts, put your knee on the floor. I always do it. My right knee, as I tell my students, nah, today I don't think my right knee wants to be off the mat. I will keep it on the mat. I will roll a separate mat and place it under my knee. Don't feel like doing Shashankasan, get into Pavan Muktasan. Modify the practice as per your liking. Don't compete with your neighbor, compete with yourself. A little discomfort is fine, but don't feel uncomfortable in your posture. You should never feel choked. You should not be gasping for breath. You should be comfortable. Next point I would pay more awareness to is also clothing, especially during your practice. Try to keep your clothing loose, comfortable, breathable. That's very important, especially if you're doing menopausal yoga. Let there be room for you to move from one posture to the other. And yeah, these are very important to just listen to the body. That's what I would suggest. Do it as per your comfort. Don't push yourself too much. So that is one recommendation I would suggest.
Thank you, Salma. Tarika, just the way Salma, gave us the various things that one should do and shouldn't do during menopause. Similarly, I'd like to ask you that as we age, do we need to remove certain kind of food types from our diet altogether? Is there something which we should avoid doing during the transition? If you're having the menopausal transition, you're moving from the perimenopausal state to the menopausal state. Do you think there are anything specific that we should do to our diet?
Yes.
Please
Yes,
enlighten
definitely.
us.
I'd like to go back to my original point of how the menopausal time is also a time that our ojas and our jing, as they say, the essential energy, vital energy of our body is also on the decline. This essential energy is held, you could say, of course, deep in the deeper dhatus of the body, but also you would say it's held in our kidneys. Now, a kidney is not something that you look at as the physical organ kidney, which, only the physical organ kidney, which, balances the minerals of the body and pushes out the fluids that the body doesn't need and keeps the minerals that we need. Besides that, the kidney has a certain energy which vitalizes the entire body, the nervous system, the bones and everything. And if you really look around in India, most of us have a very weak kidney health. Over generations, has been going down. Kidney health is seen in our eyes. The area around our eyes, when they're darker, is basically representing that the kidneys and the adrenals are going weaker, which for a lot of us, frankly, is a lot weaker in our country, as we see, than a lot of other places. It's almost genetically a cultural problem out here. And so the one thing we need to be very careful of, the kidney is cleansing the fluids of the body, is not taking acidic drinks. So having excessive amount of coffee or having things that are very cold when the kidney needs warm liquids, warm alkalizing liquids, and not having very, cold drinks, and not having definitely pop sodas and cokes and things like that, and not having drinks that have concentrated sweet in them, because it impacts the function of the kidneys and it begins to weaken the overall vitality of the body, which we're already fighting during menopause. Now, along with the kidney, what begins to get affected is a lot of sister organs, a lot of different organs that the body works with. So one of them is the liver, and the heart as well at this time gets impacted. Now, the liver is very impacted, as Salma mentioned so well about the irritability and the mood swings that we have at this time. And the liver is connected to the function of anger and irritability. And the liver is also nourished by foods that are green and upward growing and soft and fibrous in nature, so a lot of green leafy foods, spring onions, leek, a lot of our herbal plants like mint, dhania leaves, basil, rosemary, a lot of the herbal things, leafy greens are very good for the liver. And slightly sour foods like green apples or a little bit of lemon in small, dosages, not like an excessive amount of lemon. All of this tends to nourish our liver. So it's important for us to have that. And having a lot of meat in the body or animal protein in the body impacts the liver in the opposite way. So for people who are vegetarians, they need to be careful more about foods like sugar, flour, alcohol, things like that. And then for people who have a certain amount of non-vegetarian food, they need to be more careful about not having an excess amount of animal protein or an excess amount of sugar or any of those things. Because often what happens is animal protein contracts the body and sugar and alcohol relaxes the body. So people who have a lot of animal protein, they have a higher capacity to have sugar and alcohol, which they don't realize, but they're just sort of feeling like we need it and we feel good with it. So it's a very extreme balance they're creating for themselves. So that is what I would say, that if there is one takeaway in terms of, what to avoid in a big way, it would be excesses. We in the modern times, the main problem is that we have taken excesses of the bad foods. The body is very forgiving when we are young, but by this age and with all the changes that the body is going through, we need to avoid excesses and do things we do in moderation. That would be what I would say.
So Tarika, you've spoken about the kidney and the liver, but bones, as we know, with the estrogen levels going down, get affected during menopause. So 5 best dietary practices now that can kind of delay your bone problems around menopause, or instead of saying delay, let's say it supports your bone health. So what would you say?
Bone health, right.
Yes. So what would you say would be the best? What should you include in your diet for your bone, or what should you avoid? If we can have both, in fact.
Right, of course. To include in our diet, we definitely need to include whole grains, a certain amount of whole grains, which are fibrous and rich in minerals. Because see, we go along every day and we have roti, chapati, or white rice, grains that are refined or in the form of a flour, right? Now, when you take a kernel of brown rice or you take a kernel of millet and you go to the soil and you sow it, it will give you back fossil. It'll give you back 1,000 times back of the grain that you've sowed. Whereas if you sow the atta, the roti that you make of, or the white rice or bread for that matter, it's not going to give you back anything. It'll just get more fungus in the soil, right? So the first thing we need to do to replenish our cells and tissues is to include a certain amount of whole grains in a diet. Doesn't mean we need to overload a diet with whole grains, because, once we've grown up with not having whole grains for a long time, it takes the body a certain amount of adjustment time. So just start including whole grains. One meal a day is enough to include whole grains, and the other meal can be a chapati or a dalia or anything else, bread, pasta. That is a key thing to include into a diet. The other would be the darker foods, kala chana, black soya beans, these are foods, anything that's dark in color is usually richer in minerals. And so having, black sesame seeds are already rich in calcium, but having the black ones and not raw, but lightly toasted, and in fact, after toasted, even lightly crushed. So you get the fragrance, and the oil and everything mixes with the oil and the minerals of the sesame seeds actually mix with the food we're eating, and with the fragrance and with the minerals, it's digested better. So including darker colored foods, including, like I mentioned, more just vegetable, plant-based foods, all sorts of natural farm to table foods is helpful. Now, in terms of what not to include more of, is every single time we have drinks that are concentrated in sugar, or we have a lot of dessert, like an excessive amount. Again, I'm talking about the excessive amount. What happens is our body has a certain pH balance that it needs to maintain, and different parts of the body have different pH balances. The stomach, of course, has a little lower pH balance because it needs the acids to digest the food. However, the blood has a pH balance of 7.4. We need to maintain that no matter what. And so as soon as we take foods that make the blood acidic, because food goes into our digestion, small intestines, from the small intestines, it gets absorbed into the blood very quickly. So within 3, 4, 6 hours, it begins to create and influence our blood chemistry. And as soon as we eat foods that are very acidic, the blood gets acidic, the pH balance falls down, the body can't survive. So it goes knocking to the bones. It goes knocking to the bones and to the nervous system, and it goes wherever there are calcium and magnesium and zinc and mineral reserves in the body. It goes there and it pulls it out of there to use it just to make the blood back to 7.4 pH. And this entire process is very subtle, and it just keeps happening on a continuous basis over weeks and months and years, and we don't really feel it because the body is just doing its mechanism of putting everything together for us. However, what happens as a cumulative impact or result of this happening for a very long time, of taking acidic foods like alcohol, sugar, canned foods, or packaged foods, or bad quality oils, or deep fried foods on a daily basis or regular, the body, the bones get depleted. So at this time, when we need to support our bones, we need to have lesser of those foods, which will actually lead to depletion of the bones and the minerals in our body. So that is probably the most important right now.
Thank you, Tarika. Salma, just the way Tarika spoke about acidity, so do you think you can recommend some asanas which can help us with bloating and acidity, which anyway are a common sign of menopause, and women go through more of it during this time?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, so one of the side effects, I would say that of bloating and acidity is stress. Basically, I feel stress has become the thumb rule for everything. You're stressed, that means something is happening haywire in the body. Yoga, again, will have a positive impact on managing bloating and acidity. Of course, you have to understand one thing, rather, we all have to understand one thing, is not to just pay attention on the aspect of bloating and acidity, but to go further and understand, why am I getting this feeling of bloatedness? Why am I so acidic? Of course, when there is accumulated stress in the body, mentally, the body starts giving out signs in the form of bloating, acidity. Digestion gets affected considerably during stressful times. So whenever, even if you meet the doctor, the first thing she'll ask is it a stressful period? And you're like, yeah, okay, I understand. So I think stress, if you deal with stress, you will automatically deal with other aspects. So to take this topic of bloating and acidity, we would take postures like Pavan Muktasan. This is one godsend posture, done anytime. Don't feel shy if you're in a class to do it. Please go ahead, pass the gas out. Don't hold it in the body. It's called Pavan Muktasana. It is a wind releasing pose. When you do a posture, trust me, in my group classes, when women are passing air, it's a good sign. The teacher has done a good job. The student is doing the posture correctly. It'll cause diverse effects if you control the gas in the body. So Pavan Muktasan creates a very good compression in the abdominal region. This compression, this deep breathing compression, will enable you to digest your food food properly, it will start strengthening the intestines. It will start sending the blood supply to your digestive organs. It will improve your digestion. So first go-to posture is Pavan Muktasana. From Pavan Muktasana, do a restorative posture. I highly recommend restorative postures in menopausal yoga. Forward bend. In this variation, I've just showed it a little differently. Usually we do child pose with a forward bend, but there are days you just want a little comforting, a little cushioning. The benefits will remain the same. In fact, you can stay longer if you use a prop. So this is a child's pose wherein I'm showing you with your knees spread out. So if you have a knee condition, keep your knees spread out. Take a nice gentle cushion in front of you. Rest your head. This will improve your digestion. This again will compress the abdomen. It's all about compressing the abdominal and the pelvic region. From Pavan Muktasan, from child's pose, again, wide-legged forward bend. The reason I'm repeating these postures so that you know these are a handful of postures but having a lasting impact. Again, wide-legged forward bend is a posture wherein when you move forward, there's again a compression in the pelvic region. Your nervous system, your parasympathetic, your sympathetic nervous system, they are getting activated. That is your fight and flight mode, your relaxation mode. When your mind starts relaxing, automatically the problems of acidity, bloating will stay at bay. Next posture, cat and cow, Marjorie Asana. This movement will again activate your mental, your nervous system, will help, will improve with your digestion. Just the movement of the chest. And when you round your back, you pull the navel in, you tighten your core muscle. This again will strengthen your abdominal organs. Twisting. One-stop shop for all problems is twisting. Start putting twisting in your practices, at least one twist. You don't get the time for seated, do lying down. You can't lie down, do it standing, but do a supine twist, do a spinal twist. This again will release the unwanted gases around the abdominal organs. It will release it out. It will release any kind of stress in your spine. When your spine is at ease, your core starts getting strong. Your core is strong, you can do postures which can take the weight on your core muscles. It will strengthen your digestive system. And moving from asanas, include pranayam, that is abdominal breathing. Whenever you get a chance, before going to bed, make it a must. You finish your meal, have maximum 4 hours. Before going to bed, do abdominal breathing. You will observe that in the morning, your stools will be better. You will immediately go to the washroom. Just breathe in and out. The abdomen will move up when you breathe in. When you breathe out, the abdomen will come down. Just imagine a balloon filled with air. That's the movement. Don't worry about the counts. Don't worry about whether you're doing it correct. If you can just imagine a balloon, air blowing in, the abdomen moves up. Air blowing out, the abdomen comes down. Just this movement will improve the organs in your abdominal region. The navel, we say, 72,000 nerves pass through the Nabhi. That's why the Nabhi is also called as your second brain. Just by doing these gentle movements, you're relaxing your nervous system, you're relaxing your brain, you're relaxing your digestive organs, and therefore releasing the bloating, relaxing your acidity. Next posture. I'm sorry, I should have said the posture before, but you cannot do without Setu Bandha or the bridge pose. This posture, if you see, the blood flows, it will go rushing to the abdominal region. This will actually strengthen the organs of the abdominal region. Wherever there is more supply of oxygen, that's the logic. Wherever there's more supply of oxygen, it will keep those organs healthy. So with this variation, there'll be increased blood supply in the abdominal region, due to which the bloating will reduce, your acidity will reduce, your digestion will improve. When your digestion is at the best, all these problems will leave the system. And finally, Shavasana is a must. Shavasana is a must even in times of bloating, fat, because all the organs are in a state of rest. There's a stretch. When you lie down, your teacher will always give you that instruction, lie down, feet apart, palms open to the sky. The preparation for Shavasana, just to get into the posture, is as important as the posture itself. All the muscles will begin to relax. Your breathing will become slower. The mind will become calmer. As a result, your stress will come down. As a result, your digestion will improve, and no acidity, no bloating whatsoever. So yeah.
Salma, while we are at the bloating and acidity and the asanas, menopause belly, which is an important question. I'm sure many women who are on this webinar right now would like to know that the
Yes.
fat around the belly, the lower abdomen, which we get, is there something which we can do? Will the same asanas help? What
Yes.
and how should we be doing?
Good
Yes.
question. The same asanas can help just with an intention, a little tweaking of postures, of course, but belly fat, trust me, it's actually, of course, it could be a problem of menopause, but it is the problem for all women. So we are not an exception if you're going through menopause, but it's just that I think wherever your awareness goes, energy flows. So stop looking at your belly, stop rubbing your belly. I tell my student, there's a student of mine particularly, she looks at her stomach, Salma, stomach is coming out. Stop, stop rubbing it, you're only pampering it. So first start with the intention that it's not coming out. It will tone. What you need to do is tone your belly muscles. Keep your energy on that aspect that you're toning your muscles. Don't worry, stomach andar ja raha hai, nahi andar ja raha hai, leave it out. The whole point of a yoga practice is to tone the muscles, to strengthen the muscles. These postures are very simple because again, I'm going to give you variations. Naukasan. Naukasan is a posture. When you do this posture, Naukasan, it will strengthen your core muscle. If you see picture 1, it's an easy variation. Hold on to the back of your knees. Keep your spine relatively straight. Try not to round your back. When you do this regularly, start with at least 10 counts. Take a break. Again, get into the posture. Do it at least 3 to 5 times. Your muscles around the abdomen will start strengthening. Your back will strengthen. Remember, if you want to concentrate on your core, you will have to strengthen your back. You will have to strengthen your knee. With this posture, the muscles around the abdomen, they'll start toning up. The fat around the abdomen will start reducing if you breathe deeply. So try not to just breathe shallow. Take the breath at least up to your lungs. Even if it doesn't reach the abdomen, it's okay. But completely breathe in and out, fill up your lungs. If the next level, if you're comfortable with this, you can also do it. Tazita, if you could just go back to Naukasan. You can do this lying down. Keep your feet off the mat. Remember, you don't have to take it too high. If you have a neck condition, go with the seated variation. If you're okay with your neck, go with this lying down. This will tone again, tone your abdominal muscles, tone your obliques. They will strengthen the obliques, the muscles which hold on, which are around the core. So they will strengthen the core muscles. Next, my favorite all-time, plank. Don't feel bad if you cannot do the first variation. You can always just bring your knees down. What you need to do is work on the pelvic region. So if you're okay, do the first part. This posture again strengthens the back muscles. It will strengthen your abdominal muscles. It will tone your abs, as you put it. But yogic terms, it will tone your abdominal muscles. It also improves digestion. So that's one of the reasons why the toning happens, because you'll start releasing the fat. You'll reduce the fat in that region. As a result, the muscles will get toned. Again, I insist, if you have any kind of issues, you feel you're just starting off, don't stay in the full plank, stay in modified plank. Simply bring your knees down. Again, take your knees up, get into plank. Do this alternatively at least 3 to 5 times. Hold the posture with normal breathing. Please remember, actually Nandini had asked this question. I would definitely recommend not holding your breath throughout your practice. So please breathe here. The next important and easy posture are leg raises. This is also, there are 2 parts in this. This is called Viprit Karini. This is your leg against the wall, or you can do this posture as dynamic. You take one leg down, take the leg up. So do these leg raises one leg at a time, or do it both legs at the time. See how your back feels. On a day, maybe you don't want to do dynamic, just keep your legs against the wall. See that your back is stuck against the wall. If you need, take a bolster, take a headrest, breathe. Keep your stomach relatively empty or 4 hours post-meal. This posture, definitely do it regularly. You'll feel that overall this will help you with toning your abdominal muscles. The fat around the abdominal muscles starts reducing because the blood flow in this region has increased. All the flow from the toes up, moving to the pelvic, in fact, going up to the pituitary. It's going up till your nervous system. So if done before going to bed, you will sleep like a baby, I guarantee you. So leg raises are a must if you want to improve, again, belly fat, tone the belly. This is one of the best postures. And end it with Shavasana, of course.
Thank you, Salma. There is so much to do, but such little time. One quick question to Tarika before I guess we'd have to take audience questions. We have those as well. Tarika, what are the various, what is your take on the various form of diets? And right now we have lots of them going on, from intermittent to keto to veganism to paleo. There's so much happening.
Yeah.
Which one
Right.
would you say, Tarika, that one should follow, or one shouldn't follow any of them?
I think a combination of macrobiotics and Ayurveda, of course, because that's what I propose. But besides that, I would say, let's look at these in a very practical and intelligent way. So, for example, intermittent fasting, right? Intermittent fasting is when we're giving our body a certain break. The thing with intermittent fasting is it helps, and it really helps a lot. However, if a person has a certain amount of blood sugar weakness or a digestive weakness, then it could actually increase that for some people. So we want to be careful that, just like Salma said, not to push yourself towards an asana, even though the teacher is saying, because you know your body well. Similarly, even for intermittent fasting, not to push yourself if you have to really push yourself to do it. If it happens naturally, you have a certain genetic strength, you have a certain strength, which is good. But let's talk about, why did intermittent fasting come about and why is it feeling so good, right? Again, my original point, excesses. Because we live in a world of excesses, because food has been industrialized, food has been commercialized, that everybody's taking, instead of having a glass of milk on a Sunday or an aloo ka paratha on a Sunday, everybody's having like a cheese slice which is concentrated, on bread, like, or many cheese slices on bread and pizzas 3 times a week. They're taking concentrated nutrition, excess nutrition. And so that excess, the opposite of excess is fasting. And that's why intermittent fasting is so effective. And yes, it's definitely, sort of good to do. About keto and paleo, these are diets which are high in protein and very low in carb, or in fact, some of them are like almost no carbs. Some people go into the extreme of it. Well, I don't really agree with the no carb bit, because carbs are, as they say, carbs or whole grains are very important with their fiber and minerals and softness that they give to the body, especially to a woman's body. Having a diet very high in animal protein gives you a certain high, it gives you a certain extra energy, because it's higher in fat, it's higher in protein, so it gives you that extra energy. So it feels very good when you have it, and it takes a lot of effort to kind of taper it down if one is having too much of it. And that's the reason why many people don't actually do it, because as soon as they start having, a certain amount of carb, they start feeling bloated, and they're like, I can't digest brown rice, I can't digest quinoa, I can't digest XYZ because it gives me bloating. But of course, you've given yourself something that is so high in testosterone, that high, which is obviously not good during menopause. So a lot of animal protein, or protein as they have in the keto and paleo diet, it increases the metabolism. So it feels really good, because suddenly you have a flat tummy, your body is burning fat faster than it should, than it would normally on a plant-based diet. So it starts feeling very good, and the high feels like the focus energy and stuff feels very good. However, in the long run, it is affecting your liver, it is affecting your heart with the extra cholesterol, it is affecting the kidneys with the extra acid it produces. So it's overall depleting something in your body, and it'll also lead to more aging, also these foods, I mean, for example, eggs and chicken is, the intake of that is increased so much in India, and while having them in small quantities, so people who choose to have them is fine, but having them in excess begins to dry out the body. And how women in older age often have these lines on the upper lip, that's because their body is literally drying out, and that's the area, the upper lip as well as the chin, is represented by the reproductive organs. So the flip side of having an excess of the paleo keto diet is that you actually will get wrinkled a lot faster when you're older, and there could be different effects as well in the body, health effects in the body. As far as veganism is concerned, it's very good ideologically, and maybe in at some point, if a person is able to follow it really well in a future time when everything is healthier, the availability of things is healthier, it might be more successful. But I feel in this day and age, to be a healthy vegan is very difficult, in the sense that people who are vegan, they feel they're very healthy. But I have dealt with so many clients who come to me who became to veganism, felt better in the first 2-3 years, or maybe first 5 years, but by the 7th, 8th, and 10th year, they're not feeling good, because just a diet of going vegan, going for veganism without understanding the principles of balance that macrobiotics and Ayurveda explain or demonstrate is not very helpful. We need to understand the body has a constant balance between hot and cold, damp and dry, estrogen and testosterone, light and heavy. So eating very light foods or very heavy foods, there needs to be a combination. Eating just salad and soup is not good, but then eating very heavy creamy foods is also not good. There needs to be a certain balance of energetics of the food that we're consuming, and veganism ignores that. They basically are coming from an emotional aspect of wanting to not eat animal protein, and that is commendable. It's amazing. But if they would add to that the dimension of macrobiotics and Ayurveda, it would be far better.
Thank you, Tarika. We better get to the audience questions since we have a lot of them. And I'll start the first one with you, Tarika. A quick preparation. Shushmita wants to know a quick preparation from the kitchen to deal with loss of appetite during menopause. And also, Swati asks about a detox drink. She says she feels really tired, and if there is a detox drink that she can carry to her workplace. And let's just get on to this quickly because we have like a huge list.
Right.
If you
I think
please.
loss of appetite, and as well as that, I think maybe having more warm drinks which are very healthy for the body. So maybe making like a ginger fennel, maybe not ginger because it's quite warming, but maybe making like a cinnamon fennel nettle tea would be very helpful at this time, because fennel and cinnamon are gently warming and reproductive system, which is what we're dealing with over here. And there's research done for nettle, which about how it's helped even prostate, for men, and similarly for women. So doing a combination of maybe nettle, rooibos, fennel, cinnamon, these sort of light, gentle, warm drinks will help improve the appetite. For the appetite, it's a little tricky because it depends on the person's body type. Now, is the person skinny or heavier, or what are they doing? I would need to look at that to help. But as far as the quick energy drink is, to have more alkaline, warm drinks, to have a little more fiber in your diet, maybe even to include small quantities of chia seeds or isabgol, things like that, 2 times a week each, just to cleanse the gut if that's not feeling, clean enough. Support your body with some supplements, maybe some spirulina, and a little more avocado at this time, creamier foods, sweet potatoes, avocados. All of this will begin to feel better for both of these things.
Thanks, Tarika. Salma, to you. Everybody is very happy with all the PPT of the asanas that you've shown, but a lot of ladies want to know that if they have a long-standing back pain issue, should they go ahead and do those asanas? Are they helpful for their back pain, or should they completely avoid it? What would you say, Salma?
So what I would suggest, all the postures are safe, but if you're starting, and especially if you're starting without supervision of a teacher, I'll say that do the postures which are lying down, because there'll be grounding, there'll be your mat, there'll be comfort. Avoid forward bend standing if you're not doing it under a supervision of a teacher, because forward bends also are very good for the back, but to the extent you can go down has to be monitored. So do the asanas on the back, do the twists seated down, do the twist lying down. In fact, they will strengthen muscles. They're absolutely safe. Please go ahead and they will strengthen your back. Yes, definitely. Just avoid standing forward bend if you don't have it.
Thank you, Salma. Tarika, one other very pertinent question which Manjeet has asked, hair loss, which is a huge thing during menopause again. Anything that you can include in the diet plan to tackle hair loss?
To be very frank, in a holistic approach, it's never about 1 or 2 changes. And it's not 2 or 3 things that, of course, one can have amla and tea and alkalizing drinks and everything. But at the end of the day, for any human being, the cumulative impact of everything they do, the good and the bad, the end result is what creates the blood chemistry, and the blood chemistry is what will create the vitality and the growth, with nail growth. I mean, I feel like my nail and hair growth is increasing in time of, the cumulative impact of eating healthier and doing yoga and everything. So it's really the cumulative impact of everything. I can't really pinpoint few things that'll be good, but sticking to more alkaline foods and everything that I've said pretty much in this talk.
Thank you, ladies. It was a pleasure having the both of you. Now I'd hand it over to Megha to please close the session.
Thank you so much, Tarika and Salma. What an absolute insightful session. Very, very informative. Abundant thanks to Nandini, who's woken up at the oddest hour in the US and conducted the session. Thank you to the Secretariat for your relentless support always. Dr. Glossy, Dr. Pooja, Aparna for their very diligent and enthusiastic curation week after week. And abundant thanks to all the health and wellness vertical members for the very active inputs. For everyone's benefit, I shall be sharing the contact info of both Tarika and Salma on the membership group. I will also be sharing the presentations made by the two of them so that you have access to this bank of knowledge and you can revisit at your convenience. Thank you so much to all the audience members who've joined and made it such a productive event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All.
Really
Thanks,
lovely.
Nandini. Thanks,
Fantastic
Megha.
session.
Thank you.
And we have